On today's episode of Time About the Movies, everything is awesome. Well, technically, that's not true this weekend. We only have one great movie that's awesome, and that is the Lego Movie. But then we also have a movie that you think would be awesome, with George Clooney directing it, featuring a stacked cast, The Monuments Men. Not so much. And then, hey, it's another generic, let's make our own Twilight knockoff movie, Vampire Academy. And, yeah, spoiler alert, it ain't good. But, February 2014, let's get a kick started. This is Time About the Movies.
Hello, I'm Emmett. I'm just gonna come right out. I have no idea what's going on at all.
My fellow master builders, including but not limited to Superman, Wonder Woman, the Mermaid, Green Ninja, 1980-something Space Guy, Michelangelo, and the 2002 NBA All-Stars. We have learned that Lord Business plans to end the world as we know it. There is yet one hope. The special has arisen.
I think I got it, but just in case, tell me the whole thing again. I wasn't listening. I'm freaking out!
Relax, everybody. I'm here.
Pac-Man? Awesome! Could you make one of these in orange?
I only work in black, and sometimes very, very dark gray.
Hey, pal, I hate to tell you this, but I don't think you're supposed to be here. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to report you. No, wait up!
And what you just saw right there was everyone that thought this movie was going to be absolutely terrible and nothing more than a cheap cash grab, and then made people realize, oh my god, this actually could be pretty amazing. And sure enough, it was that, and even more than anyone could ever imagine, myself included. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the three films of February 7th, 2014. Let me just say right now, there was no movie that on the show that is, or even this year, that pales in comparison to this movie here. The Lego Movie is not only one of the year's biggest achievements, it's one of the greatest movies we've seen in the last 15 years. And it's hard to believe a movie with Legos in it could become the classic that it has become. And really, when you really look into it, there's more than an easy understanding of why that is. But let's dig into the plot of this film. So this is, of course, based off the Lego line of construction toys, and it follows a toy named Emmett, played by Chris Pratt, who's an ordinary Lego minifigure prophesized to save the universe from the tyrannical Lord Business, played by Will Ferrell, as he gains different allies along the way, including Wildstyle, played by Elizabeth Banks, Vitruvius, played by Morgan Freeman, Batman, played by Will Arnett, and many, many more. And really, this is one of the most perfect movies I have ever seen in my life. And, you know, this was kind of the year for Phil Lord and Chris Miller to really branch out and show everybody that these guys are for real. I mean, yes, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs was a big success back in 2019. 21 Jump Street was a big success a couple years prior in 2012. But 2014, you not only had this movie, but you had 22 Jump Street, and it just basically showed that these guys were for real, and these guys are indeed the future of filmmaking, and it has shown that, yeah, they know exactly what they're doing, and they know how to entertain the hell out of you by taking some of the stupidest ideas ever and making it the baddest ass movie you could possibly ever see. If you want to, I don't even know if I said that the right way, but This movie is amazing. There is nothing wrong with this film whatsoever. Everything about this movie is just great. The voice casting, top notch. Chris Pratt as Emmett, Elizabeth Banks as Wildstar, Morgan Freeman, Vitruvius, Will Arnett. I haven't even talked about Ali Brie as Unikitty, who is one of the most hilariously fun characters I have ever seen. Like, kind of a mix. Imagine if you mixed Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony and Edward from Cowboy Bebop and rolled them into one. That's Unikitty as a whole, and every time she's on screen in this movie, it is absolutely fucking hilarious. Charlie Day is also hilarious too, but it's Charlie Day. But him as Benny, this is a character who cares about one thing and one thing only: spaceships! Like, every time he sees an opportunity to build a spaceship, he has to say that, and just the dialogue that's given to him in this is just so damn funny. Hell, Nick Offerman playing Metalbeard is great. I didn't even realize that was him the first time I saw this movie. It's just like, wow, I mean, it sounds like him, but at the same time, it doesn't it feels radically different than what we're used to hearing from Nick Offerman. And Liam Neeson as good cop, bad cop is also great too. I love the way that he goes from being the tough grift bad cop to the good cop with the Scottish, with kind of a little bit of a accent to him, just like, "Hi buddy, would you like a glass of water?" And it's like, and then bad cop comes around, it's just like, too bad. This is just pushes the cop out of the way. Liam Neeson's hilarious in this movie, and Will Ferrell is just so good as Lord Business. I mean, you also have a number of different notable names in this, playing these different characters. You got Jonah Hill's Green Lantern, Channing Tatum as Superman, Kobe Smulders as Wonder Woman, Will Forte as Abraham Lincoln, Shaquille O'Neal as Billy D. Williams, Lando Calrissian. I mean, not just the fact that they have all these characters, but they also have characters that you don't expect to see, like Milhouse from The Simpsons is in here. Why? Because he's apparently one of the hierarchies at the building in that scene there from the trailer. But I mean, just so many different weird cameos in this, but yet it works so well. The animation is incredible, mixing both computer animation and practical stop motion animation, even some practical animation too. It's really some of the best animation I've seen in a long time, and in 3D, it looks incredible. But where it gets really good is the third act of the movie, and if you haven't seen the movie yet, I'm going to spoil it, but you should have seen this movie by now. It's been 12 years, for God's sakes, but that moment when Emmett falls into what is supposedly the end of the world. It basically is, you find out this whole story is being taken place in the basement of a live-action boy named Finn and his father's Lego set, the father revealing to be the man upstairs who looks exactly like Lord Business. He chastises his son for ruining the set by creating hodgepodges of different playsets and proceeds to permanently glue his perceived perfect creations together. And, this is basically leading into what's happening in the Lego world where, where the whole world's going to get destroyed. And, there's this big action sequence overall. And you think it's going to go down the typical kids movie route. But then it takes a radical turn overall. And what it really does at the end of this really is amazing. Like, realizing the danger that his friends are at, Emmett's willing to have himself to move and gain Finn's attention and returning him to the piece of resistance to the set. And Emmett now possesses the power of a master builder, confronts business, and while this is all going on, Finn's father looks at his son's creation and realizes that Finn has based the villainous business on himself. And through a speech that Emmett gives business, Finn basically tells his father that he is special and has the power to change everything. And so Finn kind of reconciles with his son, and, it plays out very, very well. Business has a change of heart. Emmett basically tells him, you don't have to be the bad guy, and essentially it kind of is the thing that saves the movie in general, and this is what makes this movie go from great to perfect. It's very reminiscent of another movie produced by Warner Brothers and Animal Logic, who's one of the main animation companies on this, Happy Feet. Happy Feet starts off with this silly little movie about penguins dancing around, but then you get to the third act, and Mumbo finds the mystic beings he's been looking for, and it gets put into a penguin exhibit, and basically he starts to succumb to madness until this little girl manages to connect with him and thus leads him back home to prompt worldwide debate on overfishing. Like, that scene in Happy Feet is very similar to what happens here. They seem out of place, but they teach you lessons about life in general. In Happy Feet, it was about overfishing in Antarctica, but in here, it's about not forcing creativity out by separating everything, and also appreciating the creative things that you can see from Legos while in the real world. The dad appreciates his son's creativity and decides to stop gluing them all together. This movie is such a great love letter to the Lego name, and it's just not only that, it's just really good. It's very funny, it's clever, the animation is beautiful to look at, the voice casting is great. It has one of the best twists ever because it pays off nicely. Like, Phil Lord and Chris Miller really are one of the best directing duos we have working right now. I mean, they have made one good movie after another, and they show that they care about the projects they work on. They realize that there's something great that can be done with it. It's worth making a movie out of. Case in point, what they've done with the Spider-Man films too. I mean, this not only was my favorite film of 2014, not only was it one of the best animated movies I've ever seen, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It had just been knocked out by Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse as my 30th favorite movie of all time. That's how much I love this movie so much, and I was just as pissed off as everybody else when that movie did not get nominated for a Best Animated Feature Oscar. It's just like, you gotta be kidding me, man. Like, really? That movie is the one you're gonna push off to the side? The most acclaimed movie of the year. The movie that basically relaunched Warner Brothers Animation to where it is today. And was a massive hit too, and yet you're gonna pretend like, oh, it came out 15 years ago, so no, you're not getting a nomination. It's a problem of two things with the Oscars. One, back then they didn't nominate movies that came out before April because that was something that was a common thread for them back in the day. But on top of that, it's a brand movie, and very rarely do the Oscars give brand movies the proper respect. I mean, they did it with the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and a couple of other movies, but it's a rare commodity for a branded film, a film with a name brand with it, to get a nomination for a specific significant picture or Best Animated Feature award. It's why the Simpsons movie wasn't nominated for Best Animated Feature, for God's sakes. It was one of the most highly acclaimed movies released that year, and that movie doesn't get a nomination. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's just... yeah, it was one of the many problems that the Oscars had back then, but they have sort of come back around to it. Sort of. I mean, it's still kind of there once in a while, but yeah, back then it was very, very prevalent there. But regardless of what the Oscars think, the Lego Movie is a cinematic achievement, man. This is about as great of a movie as you could possibly imagine. What more do I gotta say about this film that has already been said? The Lego Movie is fantastic. It's well done. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. No question about it. We happy now? Good, because we're about to piss you off now. Here's our next movie, The Monuments Men.
Based on the untold true story.
We have been tasked to find treasure that the Nazis have stolen.
On February 7th, 8 unlikely heroes
We're gonna need your knowledge and your skill.
held the key to unlocking the secret
Stealing the art and hiding it.
to save the world's greatest treasures.
Gotta go!
If Germany falls, they're to destroy everything.
It's there.
Come on, give me a hand!
We have some unfinished business.
The Monuments Men. In theaters February 7th.
Okay, pissed off might be a little bit much, but Monuments Men is still very much a disappointment, especially with the cast that you just saw in there, and the fact that it's directed by George Clooney. You expect so much more from it, and it didn't deliver. This is based off of a book called The Monuments Men, Allied Heroes, Nazi Thieves, and the Greatest Treasure Hunt in History, and follows an Allied group from the Monuments, Fine Arts, and Archives program that is given the task of finding and saving pieces of art and other culturally important items before Nazis destroy or steal them during World War II. So basically, have you ever seen that episode of The Simpsons where Grandpa and Mr. Burns were were basically stealing all these artifacts, and back when they were in the war, and they've had this battle going forward for whoever dies, they get all this stuff there. Imagine that, except it's made by George Clooney and features a cast that includes Matt Damon, Bill Murray, John Goodman, John Dujardin, Bob Balaban, Hugh Bonneville, Cate Blanchett. That alone should have made this movie great, but no, this one was a major, major letdown. And George Clooney has made a lot of really good movies as a director. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind's a great movie. Good Night and Good Luck, one of his greatest achievements. Leatherheads, The Ides of March, all really good movies, but yeah, this one was definitely a really bland and forgettable movie. It's got a good heart to it. The cast does a good job with the material given to it, but the biggest problem is it's trying to do a World War II movie mixed in with an Oceans movie, and you can't really do that with a film like this, unfortunately. You really can't do that, and It has good intentions. There's nothing offensive about it, but with a cast this good and a director and a writer as and that includes George Clooney, you expect so much better from it. It's like the script really was on autopilot. You could predict everything that was going to happen. You could predict how the ending was going to go. There was nothing about this movie that makes it worth it in the end. It was just so bland, forgettable, and while I still kind of enjoyed it, it's hard for me to really recommend it, honestly. Like, it's a very mediocre film overall, and the cast is good should not be mediocre in a film like this, especially with a guy like George Clooney, who had been near pitch perfect in terms of the director's chair, but something happened with him after this movie, because his directing career after that got pretty lousy after that, because he followed it up with Suburbicon, which was not that great, The Midnight Sky, which wasn't all that good, neither was The Tender Bar, nor was The Boys in the Boat was actually not that bad. I saw that one, and I thought that was alright, but yeah, there was a stretch where he made some really, really bad films, and it started with this one right here, so yeah, a major, major disappointment overall in the Monuments Men. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, and that is Vampire Academy.
Friendless is a royal member of an ancient race. I'm a guardian.
Your life mission is protect Lissa.
You have to help him. You're welcome. And this is Vampire Academy.
In this school, every vampire needs a guardian.
Oh no.
Because a new breed who live in a world with the boogeyman on the hill is out for blood.
There's a bigger threat still out there.
I can't remember who loves us and who hates us. Let's make tonight our bitch.
If that trailer cut off there just before it ended, was mostly because I accidentally hit the stop button on there, but I'm not going to rewatch that trailer again, because really, do I need to do this? This is another one of those movies where it feels like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer and I think it's Patty, Moe, and Bart, and Neil Gaiman and Principal Skinner decide to write their own fantasy book, and basically like a Twilight or a Harry Potter book in general, and try to make money off of it, and also have a subplot where Lisa's trying to write a book of her own, and she can't do it, and then when she finds out that a dog wrote a book before she does, she finally just decides to lose it, to just go ahead and work with Homer and them, and write the most generic ass teen book ever. That's what Vampire Academy feels like. I mean, good lord, this thing feels like that ripoff from The Simpsons. I mean, that episode feels like this was the movie based off that book they wrote. I mean, it's that kind of a movie. It features an ensemble cast led by Zoe Deutsch as Rose Hathaway, a Dimfer, and Lucy Fye as Lisa Dragomir, her Morai best friend, and follows their return to St. Vladimir's Academy boarding school after being on the run for a year. This is directed by. This is another movie like The Monuments Men, where you'd think there'd be potential to, with a film directed by Mark Waters, who gave us Mean Girls and Just Like Heaven, and then Daniel Waters, who gave us, of course, Heathers, and of course this is Mark and Daniel are brothers, so they've worked on good stuff before, but man, this thing was just a massive, massive misfire, and yeah, it shows that it's literally a movie that the Weinstein Company was trying so hard to make the next Twilight and Hunger Games, and it just didn't work. It is so badly put together. It is so lazy. The only person who comes out of this relatively unscathed, well, two people come out of this, I think, relatively unscathed. Zoe Deutsch, who I think is doing the best she can to hold it together, and I kind of like Sarah Hyland in this. I've always liked her from Modern Family, and I always thought she was a pretty good actress, and she had some good moments in here overall, but other than that, though, yeah, this thing sucks. This is a really lazy movie. It really does feel like a knockoff straight out of The Simpsons. I mean, it literally feels like that episode overall. It just didn't work. It's a movie that is so badly put together. It's such a mess. It's a bad movie. Plain and simple, Vampire Academy. What more do you expect from the early part of the year? And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies. We head to Valentine's weekend next time around with one of the better remakes of a film from the 1980s. We have Kevin Hart, Regina Hall, Joy Bryan, and Michael Ealy starring in the reboot of About Last Night. We have another reboot from the 80s that is absolutely garbage, RoboCop, which is PG-13. That's your first sign right there that this isn't going to be any good. We have yet another bad 80s remake for a movie that, we always talk about, if you're going to remake the bad movies, If you're going to remake movies, remake the bad ones. Endless Love from 1981 is a bad movie. So you'd think with a new reboot, they could fix the problems of that movie. But nope. No, not this movie. No. We'll talk about how bad this one is. Because, yeah, this one is rough. And we also have the infamous Winter's Tale. Another one of those movies that doesn't seem like it's bad on paper. But you have to open the book and realize, oh shit, this is really bad. So kind of like with this weekend, we have one good movie over some really, really bad ones. So we'll try to get through it next time around, but that was what we'll be covering next time on the show. So stay tuned for that. But all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.